Hey, it's Adam Zdroik of RotoWire. I'm going to be going over Premier League predicted lineups ahead of game week 11 in the Premier League. This is helpful for FPL, so rare, all of that good stuff. I'll be right back after this intro. What's up, everyone? I'm coming to you on Wednesday. So, yes, there are EFL matches, there's Carabao Cup matches on Wednesday, and I'm just going to go through that schedule first before getting into lineups, just to run down what I think is going to happen in these games. Because again, I can't do a Thursday or Friday show, so that's why I'm doing this. It's also why I'm doing this on Wednesday. But for this West Ham Arsenal match, I think both teams are in range for rotation. Liverpool also rotate. Bournemouth, probably a team that's not going to rotate much. That they don't have European play to worry about. They're not playing every midweek kind of a thing. So I don't think they're actually going to rotate much. Same with Chelsea, actually, home against Blackburn. This is a good spot, good competition for Chelsea to actually find some success here, and they get a favorable matchup. So I don't think Chelsea will be rotating much. Uh, Everton Burnley is interesting. Burnley have been rotating under company a bit, but they have so many injuries. Uh, Everton, I don't think they're going to rotate very much either. Again, just no European competition. Fulham, I don't. They'll probably rotate a few guys, but I don't think any of these is really going to affect what we see in league play. Maybe if like Sergio Reguilon plays in this match against Newcastle, maybe that's going to prevent him from starting at left back over the weekend, kind of a thing. But otherwise, there's not going to be many changes here. These teams aren't going into the Carabao Cup being like, okay, we're going to put our A squad here and then we're going to rotate in league play. That's just not going to happen. So that's why I feel kind of comfortable doing this show ahead of those matches. But here we go, rotowire.com/soccer. We got FPL rankings up, we got Fantrax rankings up, and we got the waiver wire article as well from our guy Ethan Sexton. But we got one comment. I'll read one comment here before I start up. Ozzy LFG. Let's go. All right. So cheat sheets, rotowire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial. As you can see here, we got Liga MX going on tonight. We got an MLS playoff match going on tonight, but we have this FPL cheat sheet. And if you play at FanDuel, we have the FanDuel cheat sheets as well for the weekend matches. Let's dive in here. So here's FPL cheat sheet. Again, this has projected lineups. This has odds. This has anytime goal scores, free kick tracker, player stats, team conceded stats, all that good stuff. All right, so let's get into it here. Let me roll up the sleeves as we get going. Okay, here we go. So Fulham, as I mentioned, they do play Wednesday. So that might change one thing. I guess I shouldn't have mentioned earlier that nothing's going to change here, but so I got Rodrigo Muniz in the starting 11. Basically, Marco Silva has no idea what to do or how to replace Mitrovic. Raul Jimenez, anytime he starts, it seems like his Premier League career is kind of over after his head injury that he had a couple years ago. So that's unfortunate for him. But at some point, Fulham have to figure things out. Carlos Vinicius wasn't in the squad last game, picked up some kind of minor injury. We'll see what his situation is. But when Muniz came on against Brighton, they actually kind of had somewhat of a spark. So I got Muniz in here. I think even if he starts Wednesday, I kind of almost think that he's also in play to start this match just because nothing has been working for Fulham. Uh, Again, we'll see midweek if Kenny Tete, what his status is. Adama Traore. Again, Traore is not going to start. Tete, I still don't think he's going to be ready to start in this game. So Castagna is, again, playing at right back. In the midfield, I changed a few things up. So in that last match, as we click into Andreas Pereira's profile, he was brought off the bench. As you can see in his minutes, he's been slowly dropping, but Fulham had a bit of a spark in that game in the second half. So I think Pereira's back in there, but Iwobi stays in here. So it's a little bit of a different look here, to where maybe Iwobi's playing a little bit more defensive. We'll see, actually, just because Paulinho's in there, I think that they can do this kind of different things. Paulinho does so many things in the midfield that they can't have Iwobi and Pereira in there. we'll see if that's how they actually line up. Again, Harrison Reed, Sasa Lukic, just a bunch of more defensive midfielders that could be in there instead of, maybe Pereira comes off the bench again, kind of a thing. Maybe that's going to be his role going forward. But I put him back in here. Decord over Reed, Harry Wilson. I think that situation is close to 50-50 at this point, but I'm just giving the nod to Decord over Reed just for the sake of it. Manchester United, we'll see what happens with them. But Ten Hag, there's not much he can rotate to. So he's in a situation where he has his guys. He can rotate a little bit on the back line. I got Reguilon back in there. I got Varane and Lindelof back at center back. We'll see what Wednesday looks like. But at some point, that Carabao Cup shouldn't matter in terms of who you're going to put out in this match. Maybe Varane and Lindelof don't start. Maybe Reguilon isn't ready to start. If he starts Wednesday, maybe he's not ready to start a couple matches in a short week. We'll see about Casemiro. Again, he was seen training a week ago, but didn't even make the bench in their game in the Manchester Derby. So we haven't heard anything about their status because Ten Hag did not have a press conference ahead of Wednesday's match. So we're kind of in the dark a little bit about Casemiro. I'd say it's 50-50 if he's actually going to be ready to start here. So who would he come in for? I'm not sure. Maybe if he's even healthy, would he start? I don't know. Ericsson, I don't know. Manchester United are a mess. So really anything can happen. They got this front four. The front four seems set just because who else are they going to put in? I mean, I know they have a lot of younger players, Garnacho, Hannibal. They have guys who have been getting minutes. Mason Mount has been just dropped. McTominay had probably their best chances to score against Manchester City, which is kind of funny to say because he was just coming from the center of the midfield and, being left alone at the top of the box kind of a thing. But I think McTominay stays in there. And then Ericsson, again, I said this last week, he won man of the match after playing only 45 minutes against Copenhagen in Champions League. And then he started and went 86 minutes in Manchester Derby. So I actually think even if Casemiro is ready, I think we could still see McTominay and Ericsson in there. And again, Mason Mount looking from the outside in that starting 11 for Manchester United. Everton, Brighton. We got Ashley Young back in the starting 11 for Nathan Patterson. I think Nathan Patterson actually starts Wednesday. And then I still think, even though kind of a dumb red card, 2 yellows for Ashley Young in the last match that he played, even though that happened, I still think Young has the leg up on Nathan Patterson for the back line. I just think that's what Sean Dyche prefers for them. And then again, everything else is kind of the same here for Everton. Nothing changes. Idrissa Gueye did have the start. He'll probably start on Wednesday, but that would mean, Amadou Onana is back in there. I think this lineup has been working well. I don't think they're going to really change too much. I mean, they just won. They just had a pretty good win. So I don't think there's much to be changed there for Everton. Brighton, a little different situation here. So Brighton don't play midweek. So they're actually finally can get some rest. I think, so this is what I came up with. I've already got a typo in this lineup because clearly there's not 2 left backs there. So that was on me. Let me change that really quickly. I just edited that before the show, but Joe Veltman is a right back, and then Milner will be left back. So Milner started against Ajax, and then he also started the match prior. So basically, they kind of had a weird formation, a weird lineup against Fulham, but I think they're gonna go back to the 4-2-3-1, and so it's gonna be Veltman and Milner. Veltman and Milner back at fullback in this spot because, a guy like James Milner is not going to start 3 matches in 8 days or something like that. So that's kind of why he was dropped against Fulham. But Baleba is preferred to Billy Gilmore and Dahoud in the midfield. So that allows Gross to play next to him. And then I think this is, there's a ton of rotation that De Zerbi does here, but I think this is kind of the preferred look given the other injuries in the team. So we know about Miedema. Dinger's been playing a bunch. Ferguson's their top number 9. And then I think Joao Pedro gets to start here in this attacking midfield spot. Burnley, they're another team that plays today, but they still have these few injuries, and we don't know a ton about it. As expected, Brownhill moved back to the starting 11 in the last game. I think Lau Foster is going to be ready to play again. He had a bit of an illness last weekend, so he was in absence in their last match last we heard on guys like Benson and Jordan Byer hasn't been great, so I'm not expecting them to come back in. This back line is still iffy at best, but they do get Connor Roberts back from his suspension. So Connor Roberts is going to be in again. He'll be in over Vitinho, but otherwise the other three guys are pretty consistent. The other change would be actually, I guess I didn't mention Josh Cullen is suspended, so that's why it looks a little different. So compared to the last match, Sander Berge moved into the midfield for Josh Cullen, who is suspended on 5 yellow cards. So that would be the one change there from that last match. Crystal Palace, I believe Tyreek Mitchell is fine. Again, it's Wednesday, it's early in the week, so we haven't heard anything about possible injury. It was marked by our stat provider, but I think he's going to be fine. Otherwise, no changes here. This is pretty much what Crystal Palace has. So I don't think anything's, Mateta is always an option, and maybe they get more attacking against, this weaker Burnley back line, but I don't know if that's exactly how Roy Hodgson plays. So again, this is pretty much the same group. Schlupp playing more forward than he probably should be playing. But as I said last week, the other option would be maybe like a 4-4-2, or even in the situation we just put Eduard on the left wing and then Mateta would move up to the central role. That would be the only changes I believe would happen. Brentford, West Ham. As usual, we got Brentford moving back to a 4-3-3 because they're at home and it's not a matchup against a ball-dominant team, basically. So back to a 4-3-3. I also have Ben Mee back in the starting 11. So he's going to take the place of Nathan Collins. Maybe a little 50-50 on this one, but Ben Mee has been wrapping up his minutes over the past 2 weeks, really since the international break. So I think he's about ready to go. As you can see here, he was back from injury a couple weeks ago. He got about 60 minutes with, I want to say, the B squad between this Burnley and Chelsea match. So I think he's going to be, Nathan Collins has been playing well, but I still think Ben Mee is the preferred option. And then 4-3-3. I believe the last time they played, Aaron Hickey was suspended, so he's going to be back in this role. Ajer is going to be back in this right back role. Otherwise, I'd actually have to double check this Onyeka situation. That may be a mistake on my part because it should be Janelt in there. Yeah, that's a mistake on my part. Just a little typo. I'll fix that right now. But otherwise, Neil Maupay back in the starting 11, back in that role. He started there 2 matches ago. So he would basically take the spot of Mads Ruslev, whoever was the added defender in the 5-3-2 in their last match. West Ham. So West Ham has a couple suspensions here. Edson Alvarez and Paqueta both have their 5th yellow card. So they're going to be playing midweek. They're going to be playing Wednesday. But they're going to be suspended for this one. So that means basically, I know they changed things up a little bit in their last league match, but you basically have to remove 2 regular starters, Edson Alvarez, Paqueta. So Ward-Prowse is going to be a definite defensive midfield position. So because without Edson Alvarez in there, it's going to be Souček and Ward-Prowse, more defensive roles here. So if you're banking on Ward-Prowse to do something in the spot at Brentford, just keep in mind that this is more defensive for him. Also, Emerson is actually back from his suspension, so he's going to take the spot of Aaron Cresswell. And then the big news here would be, so without Alvarez and Paqueta, so Kudus actually started in the last match, but he's going to start again because of one of those suspensions. And then Ben Rama, I believe, is going to move back in here. I don't see another way they would go here. Again, they haven't really. David Moyes hasn't really, rotated very much in league play. Maybe he's rotated here and there in Europa League, but I think this gets Ben Rama another start after I think he started the first couple matches of the season, but I think he's going to be back in there. I'm not sure where else they would go. I think that's kind of what they do. Sheffield United is an interesting situation. As we know, they lost another match pretty bad, 5-0 against Arsenal. They're low on center backs, so they ran out a 4-4-2 formation in that game. Maybe they do it again. Maybe they change some things up. But again, they have Medovic, Basham, Egan. They have all these center backs injured, so they don't really have a ton of options. Trusty and Jack Robinson started at center back in the last game. So I got Baldock back in the starting 11 for Max. No, not Max Love. Someone else. Actually, let's get into this. I'm gonna pull up our team pages here. Little secret. Just looking at. So let's pull up. So I got the team pages pull up. We can go to Sheffield United. Again, we have these for all of our leagues, but I never really use these too much on our shows. But this has a team lineup trends where you can just check out what they did last game. So Jaden Bogle, that's who I have Baldock starting over Bogle. I just think Baldock is the preferred option. He's back from his injury. Bogle not as great defensively. So as you've seen that last match, Rion Brewster actually got the start up front, and I'm actually changing that. So I'm moving Cameron Archer back up there. I'm not sure Brewster is a Premier League striker at this point, but he gets a lot of chances. I also have a change here, similar to Baldock. Ben Osborne is back from an injury, and I think he's ready to start. So I actually have him in the starting 11 over Ben Slimani. So those would be my changes from that last match for Sheffield United. Yeah, here's Osborne, McAtee, and then the Norwood Vinicius combo in there. So just a difficult situation for Sheffield United, really overall. But that's what you get. Wolverhampton. The big news here: Pedro Neto is out for a couple weeks here with his hamstring injury. Sorry, a couple weeks, might be a couple months. It's going to be at least a month, I should say. So we don't know what's going to happen. Is kind of what it comes down to. So Bellegarde, he was out of their last match, unclear on his status. I guess he could be an option to be a like for like replacement with Pedro Neto. That is still a possibility. I actually do have a bit of a change here in the midfield. Thomas Doyle has been playing a bit the last couple games, so he came on for Gomez and is getting minutes over Traore. Actually, he came on for Traore and is getting minutes over Gomez. Just double checking all these numbers here. Yeah, Gomez has basically been benched a little bit the last couple matches. The one thing that could happen for Wolverhampton would be because they have Boubacar Traore and Joel Gomez, they could do a 3-5-2. So yeah, you got Huang and Cunha as the two forwards, and then you have just another midfielder. So basically you have a choice of Lamina, Doyle, Gomez, and Traore in the midfield. You still got Aitnari and Semedo on the wings, kind of a thing. I think that is an option here that they could do. But at some point, the success that they've had with Neto and Huang running on the wings, I don't know if they're going to completely change that. I got Sasa Kalajic in the starting 11 here. This would be his first league start of the season. I don't know, 50-50. I'll say this is a situation we just don't know what's going to happen. Basically, Gary O'Neill, not a fan of Pablo Sarabia. Fabio Silva is kind of out of it as well. So maybe it's Kalajic, maybe against a 3-5-2, but I think it is a spot to attack if you're playing certain kind of fantasy games, because they are going against Sheffield United. So I think this Wolverhampton lineup is pretty relevant. Manchester City, this is pretty much what they ran out against Manchester United. So no changes here for City. Again, mostly healthy. I got it back to this 3-4-2-1 though, of note. Not a massive thing here, but I think they actually did this against Manchester United, but because how the match went, the formation shot out to a 4-2-3-1. Bournemouth playing Wednesday, so we'll see the injury status of Senesi and Aarons. I think Senesi is fine. I think he was back in training earlier this week. I think Aarons is fine. And then Lewis Cook is still suspended from his red card. So what we had in that last match was, so Alex Scott's gotten back-to-back starts. But otherwise, this is pretty much what they've been running outside of Semenyo. Again, that outside winger role opposite of Tavernier has been basically changing every match. And at some point, there's no use in guessing who's going to start there, because it changes every match. Semenyo started last match. I think he actually got a goal. He played pretty well. Yeah, he got to start last match. So similar to earlier in the season, I think he's going to start again just because he scored. Newcastle, no changes here. So they're home against Arsenal, so this is pretty much their A squad. given the injuries in the team, this is what they have. So Gordon, Almiron, Callum Wilson up top, and then pretty much everyone else. Sven Botman's not ready to return. Isak's not ready to return. So it's gonna be what they've been using. And then Arsenal, pretty much a similar situation here. What they've been using. I don't think Jesus is going to be ready. Thomas Partey's not ready. So Jorginho's been getting a lot of starts in these matches. And then otherwise, okay, Nketiah starting over Jesus, and then Jorginho has been starting over Kai Havertz. I know they rotated a bit against what was it? That was the Sheffield United match, but I mean that was against Sheffield United. So I think they're going to be this is pretty much your A squad here at Newcastle. So no rotation there. Nottingham Forest, we'll see what they do. I was looking at this one earlier, and I mean, we can click in the Matt Turner's profile here just to check out formations. So they went back to three center backs against Liverpool. You could see against weaker competition, they're going with like a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, but three center backs against better teams. So Liverpool, Manchester City, and then earlier in the season, pretty much every match. I think they keep that going, even though Aston Villa may not be one of those dominant teams, but Aston Villa is playing well. The other option would be remove Niakate from this and then replace him with Anthony Elanga, and you have a 4-3-3, you have a 4-2-3-1, whatever it is. But Iwani is actually back from his injury, which was a surprising return. He played, I don't know, 20 or so minutes in their last match off the bench, so he should be ready to start here. So Alanga actually started up front in that last match. So yeah, I mean this is a what 5-5-4-1, whatever you want to call it. But if Cooper looks at this differently because they're home against Aston Villa, maybe Niakate's out and Elanga's in. But otherwise, I think this is pretty set. Like this midfield of Sangare, Mangala, Dominguez, and Gibbs White, that's been pretty settled for the last few matches. At least since Gibbs White was benched randomly. Aston Villa, actually going to need a coffee break here for a second. Aston Villa, as you can see on the screen, no changes, no reason to make any changes. They've been awesome. Uh, yeah, I mean 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, however you want to look at it. This is a squad. This is their starting 11. This is their preferred group. Also of note, Alex Moreno actually is back in training. That was posted earlier this morning. And Luton Town, another mess of a situation. There's so many messes of a situation for newly promoted teams from last year, teams at the bottom half the table. Again, we'll find out what's going on with Amari Bell. We'll find out what's going on with Reece Burke. I don't know if either guy will be ready to turn before the break, but we'll get note of that on Thursday or Friday from Rob Edwards. But they ran out this lineup in their last match against Aston Villa. Osho got his first start of the season. Mengi was in there again. So they had the three center backs and Kabore and Dowdy on the wings. Now they're going against Liverpool. So you got to think they are still in this defensive situation with the rest of these guys. I think this is the exact same lineup they had against Aston Villa. Maybe Ross Barkley doesn't start again. Could be one of anyone. Pelly, Rudock, and Panzu could get the start again. Who else is in there? Tahith Chong. It could be anyone, but it's just a tough matchup for Liverpool. I highly doubt they go to 4-2-3-1 or whatever they did for a couple games. Let's check in here into Kaminsky's profile. Yeah, so they had a 4-4-2 for a couple games. They lost at home against Tottenham, even they're up a guy for 45 minutes. Then they went down. They went down 2 goals at Nottingham Forest, came back. May have been a different formation at that point, but Liverpool. So we'll find out what's going on with Luis Diaz. So I believe he returned home ahead of their last match, but I think he's going to be back because they found his parents pretty quickly after they were taken, you could say. So I think Diaz is going to be back. I haven't seen anything if he's actually been back with Liverpool this week yet, but I think he's going to be back, and I think he's the preferred option here. So I think this would replace Diego Jota, who started in their last match. Otherwise, Gravenberch has been awesome. I know Curtis Jones is back, but Gravenberch has been honestly too good to drop him for Curtis Jones at this point. So I got Gravenberch still in there. And then this back line is still the same because Andrew Robertson remains out. If I mentioned, I'm just seeing if I forgot to mention a suspension somewhere in here. I don't believe I did. All right. So Final match of the weekend. I guess I was wrong. Luis Diaz's dad, according to one of our writers, Ian Folletti here, Luis Diaz's dad has not been recovered. There are protests going across the country. So I guess this will be a definite question here. I guess if his dad has not been found, maybe he's not in Liverpool yet. So maybe we got Diego Jota starting again. So I'm probably going to change that back actually after the show, just because of that situation. Doesn't sound great for Luis Diaz. So hopefully I can find his dad pretty quickly here. Tottenham are home against Chelsea on Monday. This is a Monday night match here, Monday Night Football. I believe Udogi is going to be fine. Again, it was a short week when he didn't start in Tottenham's last game. I think he's going to be fine here. Again, that was, I believe it was a Friday ago that they played. So they're going to have plenty of rest. They're already knocked out of the Carabao Cup. So I think Udogi is going to be good for this one. And I guess the real question, I know Tottenham fans are kind of asking, is Brennan Johnson going to start over Richarlison? Maybe. I'm not calling for that just yet. Because I mean, at some point you got to think about if you bench Richarlison right now in a spot like this. I mean, he's already been struggling with form. You're kind of going to destroy all of his confidence. And I know maybe you don't care about that kind of thing, but I think Postecoglou does care about that kind of thing. Like he does not want to lose Richarlison's confidence this early in the season. So I think Richarlison remains in here. He's going to be rested. All these guys are going to be rested. I just don't think Brandon Johnson gets to start just yet here while everyone else is healthy. I know Brandon Johnson, I believe he started earlier in the season, but that was also when I think Richarlison was injured or he was coming back from international duty, something like that. Chelsea, the final one of the weekend. So again, Chelsea, yeah, they do play. Let me just double check this. Do they play? I'm pretty sure they play today. They don't. Okay. Wait, yeah, they do. Okay, they're home against Blackburn. That's right. So again, they don't have the other midweek European matches, so I don't think it's going to affect what they run out too much. That said, I keep an eye on the minutes that Reece James plays on Wednesday. Is he going to be able to start? Okay, this game is on Monday, so I'm not. That's kind of why I have Reece James still in here. But Reece James is going to start on Wednesday. Pochettino already said that Reece James is going to start on Wednesday, so we know that. We'll see. I think he's going to be in there for maybe 70 minutes. If he plays 90, I would have some questions about if he's ready to start Monday. But I'd say if he's in there for 60 or 70, giving him some more minutes, I think he's going to be ready to start this one. So that would remove. They changed things a little bit up in their last match, but Malo Gusto, I believe, was benched in their last game. But otherwise, we haven't heard about the status of Mudryk really, or Enzo Fernandez. Pochettino didn't really have great updates on them in his press conference yesterday. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really say anything at his press conference. So otherwise, I mean, that last match, Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez were dropped, and then Maduke and so Nicholas Jackson was back in there. We'll see about the status of these guys. I mean, it could be a situation where maybe Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez are both fine, and they both come back into the starting 11. And then I think they had a lot of success with Cole Palmer playing as that false 9. So that would move Nicholas Jackson to the bench. I would not guarantee Nicholas Jackson for a start, is what I'll say. So there you go. That's what I got for game week 11. Whew, it feels like these are getting longer by the week here, but there's a lot of stuff going on, so a lot of it has to be touched on. So that's game week 11 in the Premier League. Again, rotowire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial to our site. Once you're in, if you have any more questions, rotowire.com/chat to get into our Discord. But as you can see on this cheat sheet, that's on that 48-hour trial, or if you just subscribe, make sure to check mark soccer on that one as well. You get the odds, you get implied goal totals. Manchester City 2.7 implied goals. Liverpool 2.5. Next highest, you got Aston Villa at Nottingham Forest 1.76. So again, these odds update when the odds update. This is pretty much every 5 minutes or however often this is refreshed. So here's the odds report. We got Erling Haaland at -330 to score a goal. That's all I got. You can find me at Zdroik on Twitter or at RotoWire Soccer as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. See everyone next week for game week 12. And we also have, Champions League's next week, but we also have a betting show that will be up. I believe we're doing it Wednesday night, so check that out. We got a betting article as well that will be on the site, rotowire.com/soccer. And as usual, all of our DFS content. Thank you for watching. See everyone later.